Oh yeah, I'm able to manage to go live on Facebook. I think we just go like that because the console there is not responding well. So we just go like that. I will do the recording here, maybe later I will post it back. So let's go like this.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's Undaunted, bringing to the news and church stories. I am Onyi Okbala. Let's begin. The Amazonian State Army has taken a bold step to assert its authority and disrupt the La Republic de Cameroon plans to hold elections in Amazonia. But what's driving this move? The ASA is frustrated by the La Republic de Cameroon's neglect of Amazonia, which has led to a poor road network, insecurity, and rampant extortion. Elections are supposed to be the cornerstone of democracy, allowing citizens to choose their leaders and shape the direction of their country. However, when elections are rigged, it undermines the very fabric of democracy. What's the point of holding an election if the outcome is predetermined and the same people remain in power? This is a concern that has been raised by the Amazonian State Army in the context of the upcoming elections in La Republic de Cameroon. The ASA has accused the government of attempting to rig the election and has taken steps to disrupt the process. While the ASA's method may be controversial, their concerns about electoral fraud are legitimate. Electoral fraud can take many forms, which includes voter suppression, vote buying, ballot stuffing. In some cases, election officials may tamper with voting machines or manipulate vote counts. These actions can have serious consequences, including undermining trust in the electoral process and disenfranchising certain groups of voters. In fact, research has shown that electoral fraud can be used to maintain power and control over a population. This can be achieved through disenfranchisement, where certain groups of people are prevented from voting, or vote manipulation, where votes are altered or fabricated to favor a particular candidate or party. This has been the order of the day in La Republic de Cameroon. All of these electoral malpractices. So the ASA's concern about electoral fraud are not unique to Cameroon. Many countries around the world, African countries by the way, have struggled with electoral fraud, which includes the United States, where allegations of voter suppression and vote manipulations have been made in several recent elections. So ultimately, the integrity of elections is essential to ensuring that citizens have a genuine voice in shaping their country's future. When elections are rigged, it undermines trust in institutions and can lead to social unrest and conflict. As such, it's essential that elections are free, fair, and transparent, and that allegations of electoral fraud are thoroughly investigated and, most importantly, addressed. Will this be addressed in La Republic de Cameroon's forthcoming elections? Oh well, we would wait and see. All these and more we'll discuss on tonight's Undaunted. Of course, we have Barrister Mbeseha here in the house, but first, let's get the prime headlines. All right, tonight we take a report of the ASA of Bui County of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia in a bold move in confiscating La Republic de Cameroon established identity cards. Also tonight, Ambazonia State Army launches a daring attack on La Republic de Cameroon Colonial at Nkwen Extortion Point. We'll take a walk at La Republic de Cameroon, where they abduct detained citizens over La Republic de Cameroon exposed fraudulent activities. Meanwhile, in Bamenda, there has been an arrest over illegal drug possession of an artist. On the African scene, Russian tourists rescued after submarine sinks off Egypt's Red Sea coast. Trump says Russia wants to end Ukraine war, but may be dragging their feet. That is on the global scene. Now let's get the news in full briefings. A bold move to Southeast Authority and infiltrate the La Republic de Cameroon's attempt to hold elections. The Ambazonian State Army of Bui in the Savannah Zone of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia has begun confiscating La Republic de Cameroon established identity cards. This strategic action is aimed at disrupting La Republic de Cameroon's plans to conduct elections in Ambazonia, which the ASA views as an attempt to legitimize the La Republic de Cameroon occupation of Ambazonian territory. By confiscating these identity cards, the ASA is effectively rendering La Republic de Cameroon electoral process inoperable. The ASA's move exerts significant escalation of the ongoing war between the Ambazonian by the Ambazonian independence movement and La Republic de Cameroon. The Ambazonian people have long been seeking independence from La Republic de Cameroon, citing decades of marginalization and oppression. The Federal Republic of Ambazonia, which declared its independence in 2017, has been working tirelessly to establish its sovereignty and assert its authority over its territory. The ASA's actions can be seen as a move to the Ambazonian people's determination to resist the La Republic de Cameroon's attempt to exert control over their land. As the situation continues to unfold, it remains to be seen how La Republic de Cameroon will respond to the ASA's move. One thing is certain, however, the Ambazonian people will continue to fight for their rights to self-determination and independence. For all we know, by the way, the elections are around the corner, and so many moves are being made. Barrister Mbeseha is in the house. Barrister Mbeseha, welcome to tonight's Undaunted.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And so elections are around the corner. We are seeing some of the moves. And yeah, we see that the ASA are going around confiscating some identity cards, of course, towards the elections. But that aside, we already know that the Ambazonian government, led by President Sako, has already made it clear that there will be no election. So do you think that there is also a need for the ASA to go around confiscating this card, knowing that the people would definitely heed to the words and advice of the Ambazonian government?
No, I'm not. I don't support that. One thing I'm not sure is that the ASAs are the one confiscating people's identity cards. I'm not sure of that. But the problem with elections in Cameroon is not the individuals walking around with identity cards. No, that's not their problem. Because the problem is the administrators. Their focus should be on elections. Make sure they don't function there. Make sure they are not there. Elect and whatever they go with it. Because identity cards, national identity cards, they are important travel document over there. As long as we remain, as we are still seen as part of them. Elections are 6 months away, at least 6 months. They are not earlier than October. If you take someone's identity card, how does a person move to the market? They will extort money from him or from her for not having an identity card. That's a very genuine excuse for them extorting money from you. And so that is not a good approach. But the larger issue is, are elections even necessary at the middle Amazonians today or yesterday? They are not. The last elections we knew about in Cameroon, as far as Southern Cameroon is concerned, was 1959. Since then, they have never had any elections. It was 1992 when they elected Mbeseha in peace, and they stole his victory. And so they have never been elections for the past 50, 60 years there. What they do all the time is machination, orchestrating something to call an election. That's one aspect. The larger question we should be asking as Ambazonians is whether these elections, even if they take place, do they have any meaning to us? Absolutely no meaning. The people are supposed to elect, for example, councillors. They are supposed to elect, for example, parliamentarians, including senators. And so what is the impact of these elections over the past several yesterday? What in the platform when they wrote in womb and acquire. Why? Because the Archbishop of Bamenda and the retired moderator of the Christian Church, Reverend Funky, that there were no roots. In the case of Andrew, said there are no roots. In the case of Acquire, Funky said there's no. When we're dealing with elections, why when did the elected officials who are supposed to be accountable to the people mortgage the issue of development, more specifically roads, to church people, to prelates, to pastors, to priests, to bishops? Since when did they mortgage that to them? What is their role if they have ever elected? I'm very sure there's somebody sitting in Yaoundé there, calling himself a senator from whom? Calling themselves MPs from whom? I'm very sure there are people sitting there in Yaoundé, Parliament and the Senate, calling themselves people from Manu, that include Acquire. And so what is the essence of these elections if they have never had any meaning to us? Elections are not necessary because they don't represent anything to us. Should there be elections? We say absolutely no. Must they seize people's identity cards? I don't think so. If they must take that strategy, I think it is too early. Wait for the election day. Make sure nobody goes there. Or on the eve of it, make sure you disarm them from going there. But to seize people's identity cards 6 months into the elections might be something different. What are they going to do with them? Just keep them within 6 months. Yeah, they can create identity card for people they want. And they still go and vote. So that's not a good strategy. The important thing is for us to ask, what is the value of elections in Ambazonia conducted by Yaoundé? Absolutely zero. We have cried foul on everything. Yesterday I said the issue of roads in Ambazonia was not limited to Womb or Acquire. There's just no road anywhere in Ambazonia. I cited examples. Go to Momo, there's no road there. Have they not been voting people? Do they not have ministers in Yaoundé? They have them. They've even had the vice president called Mr. S.T. Muna. They've always been there. Go to Nkambe, go to anywhere, go to Libielum, go to Meme, go to Ndian. I mentioned all these examples. They have people sitting in Yaoundé who are supposed to have been elected to perform those duties. Why are they not doing the job? It is because the elections have no meaning. If elections had meaning, for example, there's no reason why somebody should be sitting here and calling himself Prime Minister, Mr. Dion Gute, who comes from Dian without an inch of road to Dian, without anything called development in Dian for the past 60 to 65 years. And so, as we've said from this platform as Ambazonians, there should be and there will be no elections in Amazonia. And so our citizens, our honest citizens, should not even bother themselves to go and vote because voting has no meaning. People are still carrying those national identity cards. We permit them to be carried because they are a source of survival for the moment. And so to deprive somebody of his or her identity card during this period, 6 months into elections, as I've said earlier, that person will not go to the market to buy food. That person will not go to the hospital to take treatment. That person will not even go to the bank to take his or her money out of the bank because that's the document required from you. It's like a survival document. So I discourage the seizure of people's identity cards. I encourage the targeting of election officials. Make sure election officials, there are very few, elect people in a particular county or LGA. There are very few, probably just 5, 6, 10. Take them out, and that's the end of it. Take them out, and that's the end of it. Again, what do you do with identity cards? Even after the election, you keep them. What do you do with them? So again, we agree and we insist there should be no elections because they mean nothing to us. They have meant nothing to us in the past. Why are we going to elect? The ones coming up in October are for the president. Why do you need to elect Paul Biya, who has been there for 40 years, 42 years now? Was he not there? He was there when the road never went to Nkambe, when the road never went to Wum. He traveled to Bamenda with his 2 legs and promised to supervise the digging of the ring road. He has not done it for 40 years. And he was elected. He was supposed to have been elected. Can you hold him accountable? No. Nobody holds him accountable. Let Nkwen, who died, he was the vice president of the CPDM. He lived in Bamenda. The ring road was the sing-song of the Northwest College. They never dug it until he died. There was another one in Kumba, Senator Mokete. He had lived forever, a minister in Nigeria. Ndian was part of Meme, Kumba division many years. They never dug an inch of road right there. And so why do you go to vote people whose only interest is to earn a salary? I remember again, in the case of Acquire, the man who is purportedly said to have won that contract to dig a road from Acquire to Nigeria, which has analyzed it as worthless, is even an MP, an elected official. He claimed he had dug a road there. This morning I saw on Equinox, they brought caterpillars and kept them there. The caterpillars are standing there, they have not even moved from the spot. That is pure election campaign. So I would discourage our ASAs from seizing people identity cards at this time. It's too early. If that is a strategy, it's too early. Because it works hardship on the carriers of those documents. Because they cannot do anything. It's a document for survival in the context of command. Over to you.
Mbeseha, but we'll definitely come back. There is a report about elections. We'll definitely come back to that. But in another move, the Ambazonian State Army launched a fierce attack on the La Republic to Cameroon Colonial Army at an extortion point at a place called Mile 6 in Nkwen. The attack, which lasted for approximately an hour, effectively obstructed circulation in the air, sending a strong message to the colonial forces. This event took place on Wednesday, March 26. Well, according to a report, the Ambazonian State Army has been intensifying its efforts to resist the colonial occupation of Ambazonia with a series of attacks targeting La Republic to Cameroon forces in recent months. This latest attack is seen as a significant escalation of the conflict and war as the Amazonian State Army continues to assert its control over the territory. So the attack at Mile 6 Nkwen is also notable for a strategic location, as the area is a key extortion point for La Republic to Cameroon Colonial Army. By targeting this location, the Amazonian State Army is not only disrupting the colonial forces' ability to extort money from locals, but also sending a clear message that they will no longer tolerate the occupation. The war in Amazonia, as we all know, has been ongoing for several years, with the Amazonian State Army fighting for independence from La Republic to Cameroon. The situation has been marked by numerous human rights abuses, which includes so many, but not limiting it to killings, abductions, burning of villages by this colonial army. As the war continues to escalate, it remains to be seen how the situation will unfold. One thing is clear, however, the Amazonian State Army is determined to fight for its independence and for the people's freedom. Barrister Mbeseha, recently it seems like the ASA is on alert, very alert. Do you think that, for me, I would partially think that the ASA in Bui are very much more alert, and considering, you know, other places and the less report we get from other places. Do you think that there is something peculiar and specific about the ASA in Bui? Do you think is there county coordination? Do you think is the local government? I wish Commander Willie was here. I would really want to know why, of all the reports we get to hear, Bui seems to be at the helm of affairs. Why would you think so too, if you agree with me?
Well, they are very, very active. I've had the opportunity to analyze that. The ASAs in Bui, they are in the majority Bui people. They are Banso people, we call them. And I said earlier sometimes that if you listen to the analysis of Mr. Wilbur is from Bui, who said that these are people who fight and fight to the death. And he promised Yaoundé that come to Bui and you see what it means to fight. So they are very, very powerful by their nature, by their own very nature, by their upbringing. They are great fighters. Great fighters. We must congratulate them. And then, of course, there are other factors. I'm not in the analysis of the thing. There are other factors of the thing, one of which is the environment. And so we should congratulate them for what they are doing. They have done a good job. They should continue to do a good job. I had earlier said in some other programs here that the very war that we're fighting, the whole struggle for Amazonia might end up in Banso, in Bui, because that will be the Waterloo of Yaoundé. Once we pull down all their armored cars, bring down whatever thing they have, they will pull out, not from Bui alone, they will pull out from Amazonia. But the war is not all being fought in Bui. That's what they are doing. Just from this report that you have put out there, you see what is going on in Nkwen. What just went on in Nkwen. Nkwen is part of the Bamenda metropolitan area. It's in town. If they are able to take them out, which they are doing, which I had analyzed much earlier, some times ago, as a urban guerrilla warfare. That's in town. They take them out and disappear into the thick cloud, which is also a very good technique. So the war is fought from county to county. The strategies change because the terrain changes. Even the enemy changes his tactics. And so it's being fought in different areas with different specificities. We must congratulate all of them, those in Bui in particular, because they have successfully, given the terrain on which they operate, they successfully pulled down a lot of armored cars. They successfully did a lot of things, which probably doesn't look easy to do that, say, in an urban town like Bamenda, because where will they hide to bring down to plant explosives? And so the war is being fought effectively. The most important thing is that we bring down these people from place to place, piecemeal, from one area to the other. Because they are such a weak army, they are not able to fight a real war. What they do, like what they are trying to do in Nkwen, is to extort money from citizens. They don't know how to fight. That's a fact. We just heard news of what happened to them. Their so-called B, somewhere in the north there. Boko Haram can come down and take them down, kill 2 of them on the spot, destroy the armor cars, and they fled. Those who survived were carried to Nigeria to Chad, because they already have a hospital up there. And so they don't have the spirit of fighting. They have the spirit of extortion. Those of them who ever go there to be trained, they are trained primarily to extort, primarily to rape women, primarily to steal from people. And so we must say congratulations to our people, be they in Bui, be they in Mezam, be they in Manyo, or anywhere else in Ambazonia. Cameroon will meet its Waterloo somewhere, and I predict somewhere where that Waterloo is going to come is Bui. What is Waterloo? Is the place where they have the last defeat, and they flee, they escape for their own safety. And so congratulations to our people, those in Nkwen, those in Kumba, those in other urban centers should emulate what is happening what just happened in Nkwen. Take them out at the least opportunity. Because when they are extorting money from people, they are very, very free. They stand there, they are at ease. They think they are safe. And they are not even very many in number, maybe 60 of them. They're easier to be neutralized than to neutralize the whole battalion. When they come to do those things on the roads, where they don't have armored cars, they come with their rifles or AK-47s. Easier to neutralize than to neutralize an armored car. And so I leave the detailed analysis to the experts in defense, but I think we must say thank you. I've said it before many times before today, to Bui, for that is the Waterloo. That might very well be the Waterloo of Yaoundé. We say congratulations to those who did what they did in Nkwen, and to those who do what they are doing in Mamfe and other places. War is war. Take out your enemy at the best least opportunity. So be it. Over to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. I love how you technically attempted that question. All right, moving on. Let's talk about adoptions, detentions over La République du Cameroun exposed fraudulent activities. Yerima Jubero Shebois, an activist, has been moved to the Kondenging Colonial Central Prison after 92 days of unlawful detention. This is happening 3 months after he was hijacked by the La République du Cameroun colonial government for having exposed their fraudulent activities in election rigging. He is well known for being a critic of La République du Cameroun government. He was arrested on the 24th of December 2024 after filming electoral fraud by members of the colonial ruling party, the CPDM. Witnesses say Shebois was taken in on Ngondere along with 2 other men who were soon released. Shebois, however, has faced severe unlawful detention since then. His lawyer, Mita Kenne, confirmed the transfer. Shebois is facing charges of conspiracy against the state and insulting government officials. That's what he's being charged. His legal team is arguing that the Colonial Military Tribunal has no right to try him as a civilian. Strangely, while he remains in prison, those involved in the fraud he exposed are not punished. His family is struggling to get information from the colonial authorities. Shebois' challenges are similar to what many face in the southern Cameroons, where La République du Cameroun responds violently to dissent. So this war has made things worse, with several others being attacked by the BS regime. Meanwhile, human rights watchers criticize the lack of transparency and fairness in this particular case. So Barrister Mbeseha, as a lawyer, first question is, why is he tried in the military courts? Second question, do people not have freedom of speech and right to express themselves? Let's get to hear from you, Barrister.
Well, I think we're just doing this exercise for just doing it because the answers are all clear there. They don't have freedom of speech. There's that evidence there. You see them, the trial of which is ongoing of Martinez Zoro. He was just doing nothing other than revealing facts, giving news, leaking out their stories, their criminal activities. Where is our Wazizi, who owned an FM radio station in Buea? They carried him away, killed him. We've never even seen his corpse. Was he fighting anybody? No. He was just communicating on an FM. You can run an FM system from your phone. And so, is there freedom of speech? No. Is there freedom of speech? No. What did this man do? Well, sit down. Your question is why I say the military tribunal. We've answered that here a million times. It's a military tribunal because this government of Yaoundé is an illegitimate government. Trial of civilians in military courts is outlawed internationally and by Cameroon law, because Cameroon government has signed up to the treaties that allow it. Cameroon government, their own constitution says in the preamble that all international law that treaties that they've adhered to have priority. They become part of Cameroon law. They have signed all this. And then they said there, right there, that they adhere to the United Nations, all treaties and United Nations. And above all, they are members of the United Nations. It is outlawed internationally by their own law. But they don't respect any law. This is a criminal government by itself, seeking to criminalize people who have done nothing wrong. What did this man? He did nothing. Only the fact that they were showing him identity cards to vote elections. So you're an honest citizen who reports a fraud or attempted fraud or a preparation for a fraud. And then, of course, you become the criminal. They abduct you for many months. This man has been in detention. Whatever was his crime, this is a bailable offense. You know where he resides. He has a family. So he was supposed to have been granted bail, but he's not granted bail. He's caught where? In Gaundere. What is he doing in the military tribunal in Yaoundé? What is he doing in Kondenge? Are there no prisons in Gaundere? There are prisons in Gaundere. You live in Gaundere, by the time you get to Yaoundé, you pass so many prisons. The law is that you are tried where the offense is alleged to have been committed. So if the actions of this guy were criminal, which they were not, he should be tried in the court somewhere in Gaundere where he was caught doing what he is doing, where he did. And so we're dealing with the government of criminals. That should never exist anywhere else in the world. They are tolerating it. What did they say about him? That's conspiracy to do something. To do what? Conspiracy to tell the truth. Conspiracy to tell the truth, as simple as that. And so you find yourself on the defense at all times. He's there just for doing what everybody would have. In fact, he should have been promoted in the regular system. Where are the people who were tripling and doubling at the cars there? They are free. They are free and they are continuing with their criminal activities. Why this whistleblower, this honest citizen, is being dragged from his family in Gaundere, hundreds of miles to Kondenge? Maybe he has never been to Yaoundé in his life. They bring him up there, he's kept there, he's starved. The next thing that we hear is that he's dead. And so Cameroon is a country just by name. But by definition, it is an outlaw country. It has no laws. Because even the laws they have themselves on their own books, they don't respect them. It has no courts. Because the own courts that they have are controlled from the executive. They have no thing to call, for example, to call parliament. Because we just said in the last segment, they elect parliamentarians, they elect senators who sit there for years doing nothing. And so this poor man, like many others, and most importantly, like Amazonians, are in Yaoundé, being dragged to Kondenge, being dragged to some military tribunals, which by every step, the arrest itself is illegal, the prosecution is illegal, the trial is illegal. And what will you expect from this man? He has a poor lawyer. What do you expect this lawyer to do? The next thing might be that they will arrest the lawyer himself for defending his client. So we're living, they're back home, then they're living in a lawless state. They're living in the jungle. They're living in the jungle. What embarrasses us most, free people in the world, is why the world is keeping its eyes closed to this criminality, to this lawlessness. Because there's a common thing that nations cooperate with, that at least they respect the law. America, for example, Britain, they just think that you have to respect the law. If you don't respect the law, our question is, as Ambazonians, why is the world keeping its eyes closed to this criminal junta in Yaoundé, to this system that does not exist? They don't have partners in the world in these criminal activities. So, poor to that young man, he's gone down to Colonial, where you don't hear that he's dead. Because there are different ways that they kill you. They can take you to Yaoundé, take you. If you don't have your own people to feed you, you die. If you don't have people to take you out and train in the hospital, you die. You die. What they like, they simply go execute you and give no account to anybody. Again, remember, Wazizi was taken there. He has never been back. He has never been back. And so that is where we find ourselves. That's why we're struggling to get out of this nonsense that we should never have been there in the first place. But we're forced into it by the international community, which international community is keeping a blind eye to all this nonsense, to all these illegalities. Enough is enough, we've said. We'll fight and fight until, God willing, we'll set ourselves free. Over to you.
Oh, well, God's willing, we'll set ourselves free. Now, into something very drastic, talking about drugs, illegal drug possession and murder. So in Bamenda, an artist known by the name Blizzard D's was arrested 2 days ago on March 25th. He's facing serious challenges of drug possession and links to the death of several young people in the town. He was arrested by Colonial police during an operation on Tuesday. He is charged with having hard drugs and possibly being connected to recent death of young people in Bamenda. A significant amount of drug was found during his arrest, but no detail have been provided yet about what was discovered. Residents are shocked by the news. One said it's hard to believe he was an artist. We supported him. Now to hear that he is a drug addict is upsetting. Lizzie Dice describes himself as a vibrant musician. He had gained popularity with his mix of Afrobeat, Makossa, and pop music. And so his songs like, some of his songs like Special Person and Reflect in Life makes Ambazonian thinks that he's actually good. The investigation is ongoing and not much information has been released about the arrest or charges. The Colonial police have not confirmed detail, which is common in La Republic Cameroon, where updates from the so-called law enforcement can be limited and most of the times impossible. Meanwhile, there are rumors that this could be a public or publicity stunt. Still, there is no confirmation to that. Barrister Mbeseha, when it comes to drugs in Bamenda, I mean, we've talked about it still really last year, 2024 to be precise. We had several times, but even the ASA were the ones trying to apprehend, gendarmes and people who are in power who even patronize these drug dealers. And so seeing a musician who people, eyewitnesses in court, think that he sings songs that reflect the Ambazonian sufferings and all of that. And towards the end, some persons actually felt that it could be a public stunt. Do you think that all of this could just be to limit the force that Ambazonians are coming with, knowing that he has done songs that project the war? Do you think that this could be a gang up or something? Or you think that just maybe he's actually a drug dealer? What could be your thought here? Because the reports that we have is still sketchy here and here put together. But then eyewitnesses who know him are actually surprised. I don't know. Do people who take drugs, when you see them, people know. Why do you think people might be shocked about this one?
Well, I don't know whether people are shocked or not. The most important thing for me, this is my opinion, is that I enjoy his songs if he has done all those things. They're very good. They're praiseworthy. But that is no excuse for dealing with drugs. Everybody who does any activity, good or bad, will be doing drugs. Every Ambazonian. We believe that by the time we get to Boya and put ourselves on the ground, Ambazonia should be a drug-free society. Drugs hurt you. They hurt you. You don't need to be high to sing a good song. You don't need to be high to play a good football match. You don't need to be yourself. And so we should as far as possible, be a drug-free society. Assuming that what they are saying he did is correct. If it's not, if it's being punished indirectly for something he did not do, that would be a very wrong thing. But coming again to drugs, locking them up and locking them for months and years is not the solution. In the true Amazonia, we say we should be drug-free. But if we found drug dealers, the few remnants that might remain from Yaoundé, if they're there, the first thing to do with a drug person is to give him treatment. Because when he takes drugs, he or she becomes high. He does not what. So you counsel him, take him out of the system of doing drugs, detoxify him, take out whatever thing is in his body that's accumulated there as a result of drug taking. Because they're just being human. If you don't do that, he will die. He or she will die. And what's the reason for being a government? A government, because you know that in unity you have people like that. In any country, you have drug dealers, you have smokers, you have prostitutes, you have all these social crimes will be committed. As a government, you arrest them, that is sure. But you put in a system where they are trained, where they are taken out of that system, where they are counseled, where they are educated on the evil of drugs. That's what is important. You're locking the young man out because you think he does drugs. I guess it might be because he does those songs, he gets some money. One of the reasons why they're holding him might just be to extort money from him. Because they don't have any counseling services, they have nothing to help him out of his drug practice. So they will extort money from him because he has some money. In those songs, he's having a lot of some money. They would get something out of him, a million, 50,000, or whatever can come out. They'll take it and say, go home. And that's all. Even if you give them all 10,000, they don't care. That's part of their salary. That's in addition to what they earn as a salary. And so holding a very young person, sure, is probably above 18, but probably not up to 30 years. Some young people venture into those bad things when they are young. Young girls venture into prostitution when they are young, and so on and so forth. You just need to educate them and show them, because they have different circumstances where they take into that. But bottom line, and in America, we should as far as possible be drug-free. If the drugs are still there, we should as far as possible try to educate people out of the practice of using drugs. And those who are already using drugs, we should, as far as we can afford, try to counsel them, try to treat them, give them treatment that will take them out of such bad practices. And so that's what the ambassador we are striving for. That's what we want to do. God willing, we should be able to do it. Over to you.
All right. God willing, we'll definitely do it. Barrister Mbeseha, thank you so much for being part of tonight's Undaunted. So at this point, we'll allow you to go. Hopefully, we'll see you some other time on Undaunted.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Coming up next is News Across Africa. Oh well, a dramatic incident unfolded at the popular resort of Hurghada, Egypt, when a submarine carrying 45 Russian passengers, including minors, sank on Thursday. The vessel, operated by Simbard Submarines, was on a coral reef tour when it went down approximately 1 kilometer from the shore. Fortunately, all passengers were rescued and taken to local hospitals where they are receiving treatment and are reported to be in stable condition, according to the Russian consulate. The cause of the sinking remains unclear, and an investigation is likely to follow. This incident raises concerns about the safety of tourist activities in the area, particularly in the Red Sea, which has experienced similar incidents in the past. In November, a tourist yacht sank in the Red Sea, resulting in the loss of at least 4 lives and the rescue of 33 people. The incident highlights the importance of prioritizing safety measures and adhering to guidelines to minimizing risks. Egypt's tourism sector, a vital component of the country's economy, has faced challenges due to conflicts in the region, leading some tourist companies to limit or suspend their operations in the Red Sea. Meanwhile, in Congo, several opposition parties in the Democratic Republic of Congo are boycotting President Félix Tshisekedi's initiative to form a national unity government, citing concerns that his approach will only strengthen a government that sees it as illegitimate. They argue that Tshisekedi's method won't address the current security crisis, but instead describes it as a political charade and a forward flight of power. These opposition parties are pushing for an inclusive dialogue, as recommended by the National Episcopal Conference of Congo and the Church of Christ in Congo. They believe this approach will provide a lasting solution to the conflict in eastern DR Congo. The opposition's concerns about legitimacy are rooted in the disrupted 2018 elections, which were marred by irregularities and criticized by observers. Coming up next is news across the globe. U.S. President Donald Trump recently expressed his belief that Russia wants to end its war with Ukraine, but also hinted that Moscow might be stalling. This comes after the Kremlin disputed accounts of agreements made with the U.S. Trump's statement suggests a sense of cautious optimism, acknowledging Russia's potential willingness to end the conflict while also recognizing the possibility of foot dragging. In a related development, the U.S. and Ukraine recently held bilateral talks in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, from March 23rd. The discussions focused on ensuring safe navigation, eliminating the use of force, and preventing the use of commercial vessels for military purposes in the Black Sea. The two nations also agreed to work towards exchanging prisoners of war, releasing civilian detainees, and returning forcibly transferred Ukrainian children. Additionally, the U.S. reiterated its commitment to facilitating negotiations between Ukraine and Russia to achieve a peaceful resolution. Trump emphasized the imperative of stopping the killings on both sides of the conflict as a necessary step towards achieving an enduring peaceful settlement. Meanwhile, the European Union is taking a proactive approach to crisis preparedness, urging citizens to stockpile essential supplies in case of emergencies like war, cyber attacks, climate change, and diseases. The recommendation is for households to have enough food, water, and other necessities to at least 72 hours. This move is part of a broader strategy to shift from reaction to proactive preparedness, as outlined in a report in Europe's Civil and Military Preparedness. The report highlights the EU's unpreparedness for the COVID-19 pandemic and Russia's aggression in Ukraine, emphasizing the need for a more proactive approach. So, what essential should EU citizens stockpile? Well, from our research, we got some key items to be food, water, medicine, lighting, other essentials, warm clothing, blankets, and important documents like insurance policies and identification. And so we think that by taking these proactive and precautions, EU citizens can be better prepared for any potential crisis that may arise anywhere across the EU nations. All right, and with that report, we've come to the end of tonight's Undaunted. But before we go, let's take a look at the major highlights. Tonight on Undaunted, we talked about the ASA of Bui County of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia making a bold move in confiscating some La Republic de Cameroon established identity cards. Also tonight, the ASA launched a daring attack in Mile 6 Nkwen, which is known to be an extortion point for La Republic de Cameroon. Also, La Republic de Cameroon abducted detained citizens over exposed La Republic de Cameroon fraudulent activities. Tonight on the African scene, we told you that Russian tourists rescued after submarine sinks off Egypt's Red Sea coast. And on the global scene, we told you that Trump says Russia wants to end Ukraine war, but may be dragging their feet. That's it for tonight's Undaunted. Bringing into the news Untold Stories. On behalf of Barrister Mbeseha and a team of technicians, it's good night and God bless from here.